your world. 37 years running a business. It was so hard scrabble. I mean, it was about as tough as you could get started, and to still survive into something you scaled someday. Of course, I was lucky that my two sons came into the business back roughly 20 years ago, and it was right at the cusp of where I had been sequestered in a business that had really no infrastructure to it. It was fully depreciated. Office was in a used mobile home. Well, you might have some components of that in whatever business you were started with, but this was the full Monty when it came to how are you going to get out of there, even though you were excited that you were able to go there. And then from 81 to 98, that's when things took off. And then there was no issue with really needing employees. That old facility had no cost to it, so my P&L looked beautiful. It was just a question of what I was going to do on the revenue side. So then once that takes off, a lot of other factors come into play. And then all of a sudden you arrive 37 to 40 years down the road, and if you're in a place that you weren't lucky enough to have the next generation to come in, the number of businesses I've visited when I visit all 92 counties, and there's a stat that we were able to come up with, national data reveals that 92% of small businesses exist involving their closure, not their transfer. So sooner or later, they get down the road, and it's not a natural evolution to whatever your life's work was. And obviously, you still had some entity value. And then, of course, it ends up fading into the sunset, and everything gets auctioned off. So what we're trying to do is create some type of clearinghouse, some type of ability when you've got so many businesses that are there that might just need a little bit of injection of this or that, and you've got a going entity. And we all know the stats. If you start from scratch, it's a high fatality rate because 90% don't make it through 10 years. And once you hit 10 years, you better have something that's going to then take you to the next 20 or 30, or you're probably treading water. In my case, it took 17 to get out of there. So Brian coming on board, the only agency I've set up is the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. And we want to house stuff like that within it. So it's kind of a new venture that's finally getting it's getting crystallized into something real. And Brian will go into the details of it, but some other stats in our own state, 600,000 small businesses. I mean, that's amazing when you've got 6.7 million people here. 99% of all Hoosier businesses are Main Street, small, medium size, employs 43% of the Hoosier workforce, and nearly 80% of new net jobs come from those entities. So my wife, for example, 505 Main Street, started with herself and one other individual. She's been there 47 years. Maureen's been at 48, and now 6 to 8 other employees, about half full-time, half part-time. So we just resolved what's going to probably be the biggest issue you accumulate is maybe the building you own. Well, we sold it and are leasing it back. And since she wants to go another 2 years, she's going to need to be thinking about what happens to maybe the finest home accessory and gift store in the Midwest. Of course, I'm prejudiced about that. And there's not going to be family there, most likely, which is the easiest way to do it. So we may be on this new website. So thank you all for coming. This is kind of a complex issue to tackle, and I'm surprised nothing has really been done before in Indiana or around the country, but I'm not surprised that we're doing it actually in this administration, because these are the kind of people I've tried to bring in here to look at how we approach things differently. And with this, I'll introduce you to Brian Schutt, who is our head of the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. Brian, put some meat on those bones.
Thank you, Governor Braun, and thank you to so many in this room who have been collaborators on this Keep In initiative. We have gone through research. We've looked at the private sector to try to understand who's best in class across the country. And we're diving into everything that we can do to arm local leaders and local businesses with the best resources available. So building off of what Governor Braun said, Keep In is about keeping businesses locally owned in Indiana. And some of you know, many, similar to Governor Braun, I went through the experience of transitioning my business recently. So going through that succession process, I have unique insights and understanding into what these business owners are thinking about and going through, and knowing the complexity of trying to run a business and thinking about preparing a business for sale, and then thinking about what life looks like after a sale. This isn't necessarily easy stuff. And so that is what we're working on with the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, is to try to provide resources to those business owners. Going a layer deeper, what we finished recently with the Indiana Business Research Center was 3 phases of research to really dive into what the state looks like in terms of this succession crisis and opportunity. And as Governor Braun said, more than half of Indiana small and medium-sized businesses are owned by people 55 or older. And going a layer deeper, that represents anywhere from 679,000 to 906,000 jobs that are at risk over the next decade or so as this generation transitions out of being owners. It also represents nearly $1 in $5 of the state's GDP that's within this population. So this is significant to the state. We want to be supportive of local leaders and local economic development leaders, and we want them to come to us if they have questions about this research and this data. In addition to the IUBRC research, we've been partnering with the Exit Planning Institute, and they're going to be over the coming months reaching out to Indiana business owners to try to understand what preparation looks like for these businesses. And if it looks anything like national data, what they found last year was only 15% of business owners within this aging population have an exit plan. So if we put all that together, we know that this is a $1 in $5 of the state's GDP, a 92% close rate according to McKinsey research. So this is a major issue that local economic development leaders should be focused on. But with that research and the data that it gives us, that's going to help us make wise decisions. So it's exposing where the gaps might be in this marketplace. We don't come into this with sort of an illusion that we can solve this from the top down. We know this is going to necessarily involve local leaders and local decision making. And so within the projects that we're launching, we really want to work alongside local business owners. And some of those that we're going to talk about and we're going to come along with in the next coming months are really around providing unique insights to those business owners. One that we're launching today is a partnership with a group called SMB.co. They have a unique marketplace that really arms the sell side of the marketplace with unique insights into the business valuation. What is it worth? We want to help them identify growth opportunities to expand what their business is worth, and we want to help them plan for that transition before it becomes urgent. We're also going to work alongside the Indiana Chamber of Commerce on an education series, again, targeting those small business owners. We want to help them understand well before they need to transition their business what their options are. So we're grateful for the Chamber's support, both in the creation of this Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation and their collaboration throughout the last year or so. And we have many more businesses, many more opportunities to come to help support Main Street businesses. We have so many people in this room that we're grateful for your insights and collaboration so far. And we hope that the folks across the state that are tuning in recognize that this is a decade-long or more challenge that we're trying to tackle, and we welcome insights and ideas as we work to collaborate to help solve this important challenge. So with that, I'll leave it to any questions that we have. And I know we have Governor Braun here, who's probably more interesting to answer questions. But again, my gratitude to all of you that showed up to be supportive today. Thanks so much.